Alright, welcome back. Now here we're going to try to do an event system using delegates. This is a continuation of my last video on delegates and on the video before that on the input system. So in this scene we have this player and we have two observers. This ground plane and the cylinder here, they're observing the player. And so whenever the player grows or shrinks, they say that they observe the change. So X is shrinking, Z is growing, and then the cylinder says, I observed a size change, and the cube says, I observed the size change. And this is all through delegates in the delegate system. So let's look at the script on the capsule, which is the player. So I have this player script 2. And the thing about setting up a delegate event system is that the delegate has to be public and static. So here we have the delegate signature. So it's public delegate void my delegate 2. And then you have to instance the delegate, but you need to make sure that's also public and static. So we have public static my delegate 2 on size change, and that's the name of the delegate. This is the delegate type or delegate signature. So down here when we press Z, it's going to grow, and then it's going to call the delegate on size change. And the same thing happens on shrink. It shrinks and then it calls the on size change. Now the delegate isn't assigned anywhere here, but where it is assigned is in this observer script. So I have this observer script, and on enable, I assign this function here, or this method here, to the on size change delegate. Or this is it's actually subscribing. So this method is subscribing to the on size change delegate. So whenever the on size change delegate is called, it's going to trigger this here. Since it's subscribed, it's going to trigger this observe change method since it is subscribed to the on size change delegate. And then you have to disable it also to not cause memory leaks, or you have to unsubscribe when you disable. So it's unsubscribed here. So I have this one script, and what it does is it logs its name of the object, and then it says I observed the size change. And what I have that is I have that on the cylinder right here, and I have this on this ground cube right here. And so what that does is when I press X and Z, it's calling the delegate, which triggers the method in these observers, this guy and this guy. Okay, so let's try. Okay, so this is the basic delegate system or event system. Let's try something a little more interesting. Okay, so here's my idea. What we're gonna do is, let's write this down. Okay, so when the player enters a trigger, the observers will jump. So it's kind of like a crowd or something, let's say. So it's like if someone scored a point or something, and then we have all these all the observers jump. So the first thing we need to do is set up a trigger for the player to enter. So let's do that. So let's create a cube. Let's, call this goal and move it up.
scale this up a little bit. And let's move it over here. Okay, and the box collider is the trigger. And we can turn off the mesh render. We don't need that. We just need the trigger. Let's make it bigger so there's no mistaking that. Okay. So we got that there. So what we need now
is the delegate. So we'll put that on the player script too. So let's make another delegate. It's going to be the goal delegate. So first we need to define the signature. Since this is going to be an event system, we need to make it public. Void, it's not going to turn anything. And call this get3. And then we need to instance it. And let's call this onGoal. Okay, so now we've got that set up. So now we need to trigger, or now we need to call this delegate when something happens. So let's say when it goes into on trigger enter, and we're gonna do the null check on that one too. So onGoal. Invoke. That's how you do a null check. That's the same thing as if onGoal is not null, then it doesn't invoke. So it's going to invoke that whenever it's a goal. So now let's go back to the observer script. And what I want it to do is to react whenever it crosses into that trigger. So what we'll do is let's make a function for that. I just want to jump around. All right, which also means we need to get the rigid body. Okay, so rigid body, RB, and start is get component rigid body. Okay, and let's make sure these guys have a rigid body. The cylinder. That's the one that's going to be watching this. Let's take it off the cube because I don't want the cube ground to jump. But we do want these guys to jump. So now that he's got the observer script, let's add a rigid body. Okay, so that's good. Let's go over here. Back to the observer script. So we've got all that set up. We've got the jump set up. Now we just need to assign the jump. We need to subscribe the jump to the delegate, this onGoal delegate. So player script2 dot onGoal equals jump. All right. And then we're going to unsubscribe it here. And this should be, it should do it. Let's add a couple more spectators out here. Let's add another sphere. And make sure we give it a rigid body. And make sure we add the script. And let's duplicate. So we have a couple more in here. All right, so what this should do is whenever the player crosses into the trigger, these should all jump. All right, see if it works. Oops. Oh no, it's bumping into one of those. Make sure to go the other way. Oh, there it goes. It works. It crosses into the trigger. They all jump. All right, so that is a delegate event system. What you need is to set up your delegate for the event system. It needs to be public, and it needs to be static. And then you need to have something that calls the delegate for some reason. In this case, we have it on trigger enter, and then it calls this. And then when this delegate is called, anything that's subscribed will get triggered. So there's nothing here that's subscribed, but in this observer script, jump is subscribed, so now it jumps. And so what you have is all these objects here are reacting to whatever happens here, and they aren't explicitly connected in any way. So, I can just add or drop as many of these as I need to. So I hope that helps. Next, we'll probably go into events proper, but I want to build up to it. All right, take care.